The Zenith or getfixedboi seed is considered one of the hardest difficulties in Terraria. The world generation is completely flipped upside down, so you spawn in the underworld. The surface is complete crimson and corruption with high gravity and buff spawn rates. The no trap seed adds thousands of traps across the entire world, including a few new devious traps added in the bigger and bolder update. Darkness kills you, hunger kills you, stars one-shot you, and you have to fight this abomination. Since its release, I've attempted to beat getfixedboi hundreds of times on hardcore. And this will also be my first time playing the new update, so I figured why not come back to my hardest challenge to date. So our journey starts in hell, where the most important thing I need to do is chop down trees for wood, as well as get some food. Remember, if I don't eat, I die. Getting a mimic day one is huge because getting money to buy some stuff from NPCs is drastically going to help my survivability. So I go straight for the slime staff from the princess. In the new update, the party girl was removed as a starting NPC, so getting early party bullets to get the arms dealer is out of the question. Enemies can kill you very easily in getfixedboi, so continue moving and don't stay in one spot for too long so you don't end up like this. I rope up until I find an opening that brings me up to the fake surface, where a pink fairy brings me to my first chest of the run. If you hit a chest with a pickaxe before opening it and you see particles coming off of it, that means it's not wired and it's safe to open. Honestly, recalls in a mirror is actually huge for survivability. Alright, so while I get some housing built to get some early NPCs, let's go over a few things. First off, the two most important rules for the run is no cheesy strategies and no save and exits to avoid death. Next, I started doing getfixedboi hardcore runs in 2024. Since then, I've only made it to pillars. It's the furthest I've made it to in my hundreds and hundreds of attempts at this. Most of that was streamed, and I think my ADHD just makes it very difficult for me to take on a challenge like getfixedboi, which is the reason why I really wanted to lock in and not stream this run. Although most of the time I do stream for the validation of the run. Alright, so let's start to loot up. The most important thing is getting full HP, and I want to get some good movement accessories. I don't have danger sense or 100 potions yet, so I need to take my time and make sure I don't step on any pressure plates and avoid all enemies. And then this happens. Oh, I gotta go. Go, bro, what are you doing? Oh my god. Dude, if he would have touched me again, it would have been over. Yeah, 260 HP in a normal playthrough might be a decent amount, but on Legendary, it's literally nothing. Mining Helmet is going to save me from darkness until I can get a Magnoluminescence. And I guess grenades will do until I can get a better weapon. I really want to get the arms dealer, so I decided to come into the jungle and look for a boomstick. The man-eaters being able to attack through walls make it very risky, but as long as you have a hunter potion, you should be alright. First Ivy chest, I got it. And Unreal, let's go. There's really no way of being able to tell if a chest is gas trapped or not, so it's a good thing to always keep a honey bucket on you because it does give you 2 minutes of poison. I put up some housing for the merchant because having your snow and jungle mixed together means that he'll sell furnaces that I can shimmer later for stone and wood, and he sells marshmallows so I have a permanent food supply. And now I finally have permanent darkness protection with Magnoluminescence, as well as a grappling hook for extra mobility. I finally found a set of Moonlord legs, which gives you a lot more mobility. I also get a lava charm, which is nice because in getfixedboi, lava does a lot more damage. And with that life crystal, I'm finally full HP. I'm trying to get as much done as possible while I'm still pre-boss, so the first thing I do is come to the desert. First off, I want to gather a lot of sand so that I have a permanent supply of bottles for potions. Most importantly, getting a magic conch is mandatory because I am not digging all the way to the surface. Magic conch is going to help me get up there without doing that. I also want to gather some desert fossils so that I can make some ranged armor. And of course, finding my guaranteed desert pyramid so that I can get a sandstorm in a bottle. So it's time to take on Cthulhu. I really want to grow herbs to be able to make potions, and I want a better supply of food, so I want to get pumpkins from the Dryad. So we need to take down Cthulhu. This fight should be pretty easy. I have 3 double jumps, Moonlord legs, boots, and a feather fall. I'm also using the boomstick and grenades for the ads, like the miniature eyeballs that Cthulhu spawns. So nothing too exciting about this fight. Pretty much just have to go back and forth, drop grenades, use your boomstick until he's taken out. Now I won't have to worry about food anymore the rest of the run. Plus fruit and marshmallows are only minor food. Pumpkin is medium food, so it's the better food anyway. I also put a little layer for mushrooms to grow so I can get regen and any other potions I need for mushrooms. So in 1.4.5, now you can use pylons during events or boss fights. The reason this is huge is because in getfixedboi, there is queen bee larvae all over the world. So early game, if you're away from the jungle and queen bee spawns, you're dead. Because since this is hardcore, there is no save and exits. So now if I break a larva anywhere in the world, I can just teleport to my jungle pylon right next to my arena where she's not enraged and fight her here. Now I take on King Slime. Nothing terrorizing happens other than what he did to the Demolitionist. And really the only reason why I'm fighting him in the first place is because I don't want any natural King Slime spawns to occur. In the remix seed, killing a slime has a 1 in 200 chance for King Slime to spawn, if he's not been defeated yet, and I want to eliminate that risk. Killing NPCs in a hardcore world makes them drop a gravestone. So I'm killing a few to get enough gravestones for a graveyard biome so that I can get a gravedigger shovel. It's a much faster method for mining through sand, snow, mud, or any other soft block. After that, I come to the outer edge of the world to get tattered cloth to make a goblin battle standard. I don't want any natural goblin invasions in hard mode, so this is how you eliminate that risk, by not breaking a Crimson Heart. Usually I use a safety tunnel at the bottom of the world to fight the goblins, but I guess my world was too low and they started to spawn at the top and drop in the hole, so I have to fight them the old fashioned way. So I need to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. This is my thought process. I haven't found Shimmer yet, so I need to go find my Shimmer. And I need to go find the Goblin Tinker. Well, the Goblin Tinker spawns pretty regularly at the Shimmer, so ipso facto, boom. We find our Shimmer, we find the Goblin. Man, I should really start protecting my NPCs a little bit better. Alright, here we go, Queen Bee time. I don't know when I got the Chillet pet, but it's pretty goated. It pretty much gives you a ram dash for all my Calamity players out there who know about it. You can dash through enemies. I would say it's the best mount in vanilla Terraria now. Yeah, I can just dash straight through without taking damage. It's pretty insane. This fight was taking forever because it was very hard to hit her with the boomstick when she started to move a lot faster. It's probably just a skill issue, but I was getting very frustrated because the fight was taking so long. So while I get my brain arena ready, let me explain something. You might think that I'm making this entire thing look easy, but let me just tell you, nothing about any of this is easy. I've just done this hundreds of times. And besides True Zenith, Legendary getfixedboi is the most unforgiving challenge that there is. And you have to play super safe for the entire playthrough. Very little chances to take risks. Alright, here we go, Brain of Cthulhu. If you want to take out the eyes super fast, just put a bunch of spiky balls all over your arena, because they will literally like decimate the eyes. But taking contact damage kind of ruins the fight because he does a lot of damage. I almost died right there, but I'm able to get away and stay in the fight. Luckily, I was able to take down enough eyes to get enough tissue samples for the Deathbringer pickaxe because I had to recall. If he would have hit me again, I would have died. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade everything to Molten before we try him again. Shimmer reforging takes so long, but I literally can't afford the Goblin Tinker. Dude's a scam artist. Alright, now I got a full set of Molten. I should be a little bit more beefy for this fight. Running away from a Brain of Cthulhu fight or Eater of Worlds and upgrading to Molten and coming back isn't something that I would do normally in a hardcore playthrough. But this run is actually doing so good right now and I do not want to lose it. This is literally the most terrifying part of the fight right here. And the crazy part is, even after the upgrades, I still literally almost die in this fight. Alright, so it's time to do one of the most aggravating things in the entire run. Looking for the dungeon. Being that GFB has the drunk seed, it's underground underneath one of the living trees. There's not too many traps underneath the living trees, but being that it's on the corruption side, you have to deal with the underground worms that can two-shot you. So you have to really pay attention to what you're doing. Look how far underground it is, that's crazy. But I finally found it. Alright, it's time to get the Skeletron arena ready. You really don't want platforms or a floor. You really don't want any spawnable surfaces because Skeletron spawns a lot of dark casters. They are very annoying and can ruin the fight, so you want to spawn proof your arena if possible. Alright, so I take on Skeletron, but I made a huge mistake that almost cost me the entire run. I forgot to use an obsidian skin and a water walking potion, and I literally almost died right there to the lava. I got super freaked out, so I recalled so that I wouldn't die. Every time I have to spawn them in then run to the side, I take a bunch of damage. A better way would be to bed warp after you spawn them in, but if you forget to break the bed and you're about to die on hardcore, well, you just die. So after you take down one of his hands, he starts to spawn dark casters and skulls. Obviously, you can't damage the head until you take down the other hand, just like in master mode, and that's pretty much it. Now you can see why I don't put platforms in the arena, because I want to eliminate as many spots that the dark casters can spawn as possible. Alright, so when navigating the dungeon in getfixedboi, having a danger sense as well as a hunter pot is mandatory. You pretty much need to trap proof everywhere you go, just like this, because if you have to run away from enemies and you run into a trap, well, you're pretty much dead. There's only a few things I really wanted at the dungeon. One is a shadow key, cobalt shield, the Muramasa, the handgun so I can make the Phoenix blaster, and the alchemy table. I got the bewitching table right when I came in the dungeon, so that's everything I needed. And after about 20 minutes of shimmery forging my Knight's Edge, I went ahead and just stuck with Murderous. I couldn't get legendary and I didn't feel like waiting any longer. Remember earlier when I said that finding the dungeon was the scariest thing in the entire run? I lied. It's finding Sky Islands, and I'll tell you why. The Sky Islands in GFB are right next to the sky limit. If you touch the sky limit, it insta-kills you. Imagine having to risk your entire run over a horseshoe and a balloon, bro. But luckily I can avoid it because I have a depth meter and I know where the sky limit is. And it will be worth it to make bundle of balloons in the long run because the chill amount can be used with double jumps. So one of the last things I want to do before I take on Wall of Flesh is beat Eater of Worlds. In my personal opinion, having the Worm Scarf on Legendary is a lifesaver. The extra 17 damage reduction could mean life or death in a lot of situations. And for some unexplained reason, he just loses 13,000 health. I don't know if a bouncy boulder got activated underground or what, but honestly, I'll take it. Maybe something with the meteor, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if y'all figure it out. So the plan for Wall of Flesh is I blew up a lot of houses and ash to where it's just lava, and I'll use a water walking potion to where the imps really have nowhere to spawn, because in Legendary, he spawns a lot of fire imps that can pretty much ruin the fight. I've used this strategy before. It's not foolproof. You can still die. There's definitely a lot of skill that's still involved. I know that doing the squeeze method into the tunnel with the Knight's Edge blender is an option, but that takes like 2 or 3 hours to set up, and I really do not think it's necessary. Alright, so getting titanium armor is top priority for survivability. In getfixedboi, you get all the ores when you break altars, so you're guaranteed titanium no matter what. There's not many summon options for support right into hard mode, so I just go for the spider staff and the queen spider staff, which should make farming a little bit easier. I forgot to mention earlier, but after Skeletron, making a multicolored wrench or a grand design is priority for disabling traps. And that's why armor is a top priority, because a herpling can literally ruin your run. And that's exactly why I talked about my attention span killing so many runs, because the first thing I was supposed to do in hard mode was get armor, but then I got distracted and I wanted to start doing other things. You could be 20 hours into a run, look away and get distracted and look back in hard mode and you just get one shot. Alright, so now time to get the weapons that I'm going to need for Medusa. I made an adamantite repeater just for easier farming, but I get pretty lucky with the drops because I get the dart pistol on the first try. And then on just my second hollowed mimic, I get the daedalus stormbow. I want ichor arrows, so I make a small little farm on the crimson side of the world by the beach. If you're wondering why there's background walls, that's because background walls will prevent wyverns as well as all worm type enemies from spawning. Wyverns do 400 damage, by the way. So then I'm farming Souls of Light to make the Medusa spawner, and then this randomly happens. It is only 1 in 100 and getfixedboi, but still. I do a little bit of fishing for some life force potions. Let me just say I really love the changes to the water now that you can see the fish, as well as the sonar sound on the sonar potion. I think that was a nice touch. And then once again, I literally get so lucky right here. And then I start to get my arena ready. I decided to make it on the surface because ultimately my Moonlord arena will be underground, but it's going to take a lot of work to build that. And I don't want to build it now and then I die between now and then. So I decided to fight Medusa on the surface. I hate that the lowest part of my world is corruption because I do have to deal with the worms, but this was the best place to build the arena. So I have to deal with the mobs while building it. And besides that, the biggest threat is going to be stars because they insta-kill you. But I've never been that concerned with stars. They're pretty avoidable. I was able to get 2 balloons at a sky chest, but I just needed the 3rd for a bundle of balloons. So I do some fishing until I can get that, because bundle of balloons is going to be optimal movement with the chillet mount, which I really want for Medusa. So the very first attempt just goes absolutely horribly. I have to recall almost immediately because I'm one shot. And then the very next attempt I have to recall again because I almost died. And then I had to recall yet again, which sucks because Akram's Razor, the Medusa spawner, requires all 3 mech spawners to make, so they're pretty expensive. So then I figured, let me try extending my arena to the left to give me some more room before trying again. And I ultimately ended up using the curse darts a good bit because I think the AoE was much better for Medusa than anything else I was using. And for the storm bow, I decided to use iCore arrows as well. Alright, so the strategy is pretty simple. I'm using the Chillet Pet to dash through Medusa to avoid contact damage, and I figure why not take down Destroyer first since he's taking up the most room on screen. And this is a good tip. Whenever you're fighting Destroyer, always use a heart reach potion, because whether it's Medusa or Destroyer on its own, the probes drop hearts when they're destroyed. So it's a good way to heal yourself and continue healing through the fight, as long as you're destroying the probes. If you're just totally ignoring the probes, you're going to get destroyed. And with Destroyer down, now it's time to focus Skeletron Prime. But I am pretty low, and right now I'm looking for the pool of hearts that Destroyer drops. Ideally, what I'm trying to do is take down Skeletron Prime before I put Retinazer or Spasmatism into Phase 2. Because I think the twins will just be easier to deal with on their own. But my plan obviously doesn't work out. Retinazer's already in Phase 2, and then Spaz is about to go into Phase 2 also. I'll tell you also, it doesn't help that the bosses are very small from the Celebration Seed changes. It doesn't make it like super hard, but it just adds a level of difficulty because it's a smaller target to hit. Alright, not long after this, Retinazer goes down, Prime goes down next, and last but not least, I finally take down Spasmatism. The jungle grows restless. It's been restless the entire run. Alright, time for some upgrades. First I make a new pickaxe, then I make a set of hollowed armor. It's going to be nice having the hollow dodge. I'm going back to melee, so first I make the Excalibur and I get legendary on it off the bat. I make a mechanical glove for more melee speed and damage. Then I get myself my first light pet of the run. Now I don't have to wear Magnoluminescence anymore. With the rest of my souls, I make a true Knight's Edge and Shimmer Reforge it till I get Murderous on it. So after all that, the first thing I do is go to the jungle so that I can get Chlorophyte to upgrade my Excalibur to a true Excalibur, as well as getting Light Fruit along the way. Then I go get a Magma Stone so that I can upgrade my Mechanical Glove to a Fire Gauntlet. I was just about to go hunt down more Life Fruit when I got this message. Most of the good loot is locked behind Plantera, but I figure I'll farm it anyway to see what I can get. From the safety of my above ground base, of course. Although, I can't say that my NPCs were as lucky though. So I go back to the jungle to hunt down more Life Fruit. For anybody curious, traps are pretty much trivial at this point because I can see everything. The biggest thing is getting hit by enemies because they deal an insane amount of contact damage. As long as I don't take a direct hit by a jungle mimic, a jungle creeper, a turtle, or a herpling, I think I'll be alright. So I pretty much scouted the entire jungle for Life Fruit, and I need to wait for more to grow. I feel like I have a good enough amount of XP to take on Plantera, so that's what I do next. The biggest thing in Phase 1 with Legendary is the pink vines that she shoots out. They can be broken with a melee weapon, which makes melee so good for this fight, but they will do a lot of damage to you, so you have to be careful. I'll be honest, the True Knight's Edge is not my favorite weapon. The projectile is delayed a good bit, and you have to aim behind you a lot, doing a circle attack like this. But beyond that, it does a good amount of damage. And here we go, Phase 2. So I did make an Osagov tunnel for this fight, but I did block it off on the top and bottom so that enemies could not get to me. The biggest thing that I do is I can't make a deep tunnel, obviously, is getfixedboi. You're limited with how much jungle you actually have. So I make a small arena at the top and bottom so that I can circle Plantera. I do not want to circle her in the tunnel. She deals way too much damage in Legendary to risk it. And that's pretty much the entire fight. I do have to bring her up and down a few more times just because the tunnel is very small and I don't have a lot of room to build. But this is definitely the best way to deal with her in phase 2 without a doubt. I do make a very short trip into the temple so I can get enough fragments to spawn another solar eclipse. So the events are absolutely deadly in getfixedboi. I've pretty much spawn-proofed this event with this setup to where nothing can spawn behind me. This is the safest way to do it because if I get hit twice, I'm dead for sure. And then I bring her over the lava to where it's just a one-on-one, and boom, I get what I need. So finally, I craft the Terra Blade, and I also got the rest of the ingredients I'll need for Celestial Shell, as long as I get the Sunstone from Golem. And after about 20 minutes of shimmery forging, I get Legendary on the Terra Blade. I really want to have another mechanical glove to go along with my fire gauntlet, but I need more souls of sight, fright, and might. So I take on Medusa again, but this time, very overpowered. It's much easier this time around. Alright, so now I have good movement accessories, good defensive accessories, and good damage and melee speed. So I finally begin my journey to the bottom of the temple to where I can get ready for Golem. I decided I want to block off most of the spikes and tear up every trap along the way, just in case I get hit by an enemy, because the lizard enemies do a lot of damage. If I get hit and get nervous and run backwards into a trap, it's over. So I just take my time and be super careful while doing this. And I use a return pod to go home to get ready for the fight and hang this painting I got. 102 Lazar pressure plates is actually diabolical. This might sound crazy, but I don't do any special prep for Golem. I don't paint the walls, I don't fight him underneath in the jungle. I figure I have enough AoE with the Terra Blade and movement with the Chillet Pet to just fight him head on. I've also played a lot of modded hardcore, and I've fought some pretty nasty variants of Golem before. But even with all that being said, I still almost died to him and I have to recall. On my way back, I had an epiphany. I literally have a Rod of Discord. I could have just done this in the first place and not gone all the way through the temple from the top. Alright, so round 2, we take on Golem again. He's pretty hard to see, but you can slightly see his health bar. And every time I hit him with the Ichor Flask, he lights up for just a second. Just gives me enough to see where he's at and kind of keep my distance. The main thing is, as long as I don't get hit by the fireballs, I think I'll be alright. And obviously with the head separated like I just got hit just now. I honestly should have recalled. Staying in this fight while I'm this low is a death wish. This was like really stupid. And I'm always doing dumb things like that. That's why I die a lot in hardcore. But this time, we came away with the win. And luck is on my side yet again because I get the Sunstone on the first try so I can make the Celestial Shell. So after making a Celestial Shell and a set of Beetle Wings, I had a decision to make. What armor would I use moving forward? The thing is, hollowed armor is very good, and it gives you a holy dodge. Beetle armor is superior, but not only would it require me to kill Golem again, it would require me to farm turtles. Not only could it take a long time, but if I mess up, I could literally lose the entire run. So ultimately, I stuck with the hollowed armor. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, it's time to get the Duke Arena ready. And you're probably thinking, why is he fighting Duke? He's literally a madman. Well, I'm melee, and this is my first time playing the new update, and I heard that the Flareon is really good, and I really want to use it. So we're going to fight Duke, whether we live or die. I want to get the Flareon to use in this hardcore run. But the high gravity gave me a lot of issues my first time fighting him, and I had to recall because I almost died. Fun fact, typically when lava meets water, it creates obsidian. Well, if you put an air pocket of lava underneath water and you place coins inside of it, the game doesn't know how to interact with the lava and it just drains the water out. You can drain huge bodies of water doing this. I'm doing this to get my Duke Arena a little bit lower to negate some of that high gravity. I'm not too worried about the wings. The main thing I want is a Flareon. I can still die doing this fight very easily. Even though I have a lot of experience fighting Duke, I don't want to risk it. And this is pretty much how the fight goes down. So in phase 1, he dashes at you 5 times and he shoots out bubbles that you can break with a good AoE weapon or a golden shower or whatever you want to use. He dashes 5 more times before he shoots out Sharknadoes at you. The sharks can do a lot of damage to you, so you need to make sure you create some distance between you and the Sharknado. Phase 2 has the same attacks as Phase 1, but he moves a lot faster and a lot more aggressively in Phase 2, and it's every 3 dashes that he shoots out bubbles and 3 dashes that he shoots out Sharknadoes. So having movement is very important for this fight, which makes the Chillet like very good. This is like the perfect mount for Duke. And in Phase 3, he just dashes at you in a pattern of 1 dash, then 2 dashes, then 3 dashes. Typically, you would just fly up or down to avoid the dashes, but with the Chillet mount, I can literally just ram dash through him to avoid taking any damage. And unfortunately, I don't get it on the first try. But the good news is that on just the 4th attempt, I was able to get the Flareon. I'm really interested to see how good this bubble homing attack was, because what I've seen is pretty good. The Cultist fight isn't too crazy on Legendary. The Flareon's really good for the homing, and it does a decent amount of damage, so I'm pretty happy I got it. And then if I want to make sure I hit the real Cultist, I'll just use my Terra Blade for more accuracy. So that's another good reason to make the Skeletron arena bigger in the first place, is for Cultists later on. The only difference is I took out the minecart tracks and put in platforms, because I didn't need the minecart tracks anymore. And in his final phase, he does some extra attacks with the stars and the shadow orbs. I think that's what they're called. But nothing too crazy, nothing that I can't get past, and I beat him on the first try. And the solar pillar spawns right next to me, which is perfect because that's the one I wanted to take down first, and I still have all my buffs from the Cultist fight, so I decided to take it on immediately. If anybody remembers, at the beginning of the video, I talked about how pillars is my personal best. Because they spawn underground, they are very hard to combat. And finding little holes and little pockets to hide yourself in, like the one I'm in right now, is perfect for taking down pillars. And as soon as the barrier drops, you can just place your Nimbus clouds and teleport away and come back once it's down. But I feel safe enough right here to complete it so I can get the fragments so I don't have to come back. Vortex really wasn't too annoying. I found a spot against a wall where I could just kind of stand here and attack the enemies and they really couldn't hit me, which worked out in my favor. And luckily I was able to take down the pillar safely without having a recall, and I could just stay up here and attack. Stardust is actually pretty easy. You can just pull the cells away from the pillar to where more enemies don't spawn and just keep refarming the cells until the barrier goes down. Just keep in mind that 1 or 2 hits in Legendary, even late game, can ruin the run. I let my Nimbus clouds do the work and then I come back to get the fragments. And with 3 pillars down, I finally get my Moonlord arena ready. I didn't want to do this until the very end because this was going to be my biggest arena yet. I decided to take out 1/2 of my island and extend that into the lava, and I'm just going to make one big underworld arena. That way I don't have to deal with any high gravity or stars falling on me that could ruin the run. I did practice for Moonlord in a different world, so the strategy is after the death ray, when he shoots out the moon boulders, I will hug the roof so the moon boulders stay above my arena. I really want the soaring insignia for the Moonlord fight, so I take on Empress of Light. I'm not too great at this fight because I don't play a whole lot of vanilla anymore, or at least I haven't lately, but being post 3 pillars, I'd say that I'm strong enough to take on this fight with ease. I can use the Flareon for close-up attacks and do a lot of damage, and then I can use my Terra Blade a little bit of distance. I probably should have made the Daybreak for this fight, but I don't think it really matters too much as long as I come away with a win. Soaring insignia is really the only thing I want for this fight because I really want infinite flight for Moonlord. It's really going to help me during the moon boulder phase. I used to be very good at this fight though. Before I got into modded, I only played vanilla hardcore. I've even beaten her on daytime before on hardcore, but that's been a while. And of course we get it because it's a guaranteed drop, but I also get Kaleidoscope, although I won't be using it. Nebula is actually the pillar that I died to on my personal best run, so I want to be super careful. I found a little house that I could use for safety while I took down the pillar. I put my Nimbuses down and I go straight back to spawn so I can get ready for Moonlord. So I did do some practice for Moonlord in another world, just to make sure that I'd be absolutely ready for this fight. I wanted to make sure that my moon boulder strategy was going to work flawlessly. And exactly what you see here, hug the roof after the death ray and the moon boulders can't get into your arena. From there I just focused on the top eye, because with the top eye down, the death ray is no longer an issue. I know it does trigger a true Eye of Cthulhu early on, which isn't preferable, but I think it's still better than dealing with the death ray and the moon boulders every phase. The Flareon was a really nice weapon to use because I didn't have to focus on aiming. I could just let the bubbles trail me and then do a lot of damage to the eyes. Now all I have to do is focus the core, and this is where Daybreak shines. As long as I can keep enough distance to get away from the counter laser, I'll be alright. Unfortunately, I was not paying attention to where the edge of my arena was, and I ran directly into Moonlord and took a lot of damage. And it kind of messed up the whole flow. After that, I started to mess up and I almost threw the entire run. And this wouldn't be the first time I've died to Moonlord on hardcore before. Getting down to 21 health on the final boss is absolutely diabolical. I want to thank everybody who's been following me on my hardcore journeys and will continue to follow me on all my Terraria adventures. For anybody curious if this run is legitimate, it absolutely is. I streamed Hardcore Infernum, I streamed Eternity Death Mode on hardcore. I think my reputation speaks for itself. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to hit me up in the Discord. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See y'all next time.